What's up, fight fans? Welcome to Sportskeeda MMA's daily news roundup for March 8th. Jorge Masvidal's manager Makhachev recently responded to Uncle Dana's claims that Masvidal was too big for Conor McGregor. Back in 2019, TMZ interviewed White and asked him about a potential McGregor and Masvidal matchup, to which White replied, "Masvidal's too big for Conor. There's plenty of fights for him in his weight division without Conor. He's too big for Conor. Conor doesn't belong at 170. He's got the balls to fight at 170, but he doesn't belong there." Now this idea has been rejuvenated by the aftermath of UFC 272, where fans and journalists alike are clinging to the idea of this colossal matchup. Ariel Helwani recently discussed the matchup on the Ringer MMA show and naturally addressed White's comments on McGregor's size, to which Makhachev replied on Twitter, "I saw McGregor in Dublin. He's not small. He looked like he walks around 195, 200 pounds jacked. I'd say add another 5 pounds for his unbreakable titanium shin bone." If Masvidal's manager is telling us this, it means he's probably trying to sow the seeds of hype. And think about it, how good would it feel for Masvidal to knock out Conor McGregor after losing 3 fights in a row? There's no reason Masvidal would not want this fight, as he was quite confident in how that matchup would go down. A lot of people say they would kick and you can find them in the graveyard. I don't know what you want me to tell you, but you know what I would do to that shit. Do you think Conor McGregor has any business fighting at 170 again, especially against a pure boxer in Jorge Masvidal? Speaking of Masvidal, after his disappointing loss at UFC 272 to enemy Colby Covington, there were rumors that he might consider retirement. Well, diehard fans would know that he recently signed a fat new contract with the UFC, landing him in the top 3 of highest paid UFC fighters. But still, fans were getting worried that his recent performances would push Masvidal to think otherwise. Masvidal put that all to bed in this tweet showing his one good punch on Covington, and it reads, "Far from over, I will be back. You can all sigh in relief now." In all seriousness, it might be some time before we see Masvidal in the octagon. Given the uncertainty of McGregor's return, and the current lineup of massive welterweight fights at the top level, we may see Masvidal wait until the division is stagnant. Do you think Masvidal should even make a push for the welterweight strap anymore, or should he just pursue the money fights? Some spicy allegations are now surfacing in the aftermath of UFC 272. Rafael dos Anjos claims that Islam Makhachev asked for $1 million to fight him on short notice. On the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, dos Anjos explained the context surrounding Islam turning down the late replacement fight at UFC 272, and had this to say, "After training, I was 171. Then the next morning they were like, no, we're not taking the fight. I called his bluff. I think that's what it was. He and his gym probably thought that RDA will never take this fight at 170. Dos Anjos then added, "I heard he asked for $1 million or something." Makhachev hours later hopped on a call with Brett Okamoto and decided to give his side of the story. Makhachev had this to say, "Dana said I turned down this fight. Monday morning when I woke up, I saw some news that Fiziev had COVID. I've been in California on vacation, and I woke up and called my manager. Hey Ali, I saw some news, please call the UFC and say I'm ready to take this fight. And I asked about some condition, very small condition. Not the UFC called me, not Ali called me. I wake up and I called Ali and told him to talk with the UFC, but the UFC did not do it." When Okamoto asked him about his conditions, Makhachev was reluctant to discuss it. Then Makhachev was asked if the allegations of him asking for $1 million was true, and he said this, "Not $1 million, 100% not $1 million." It seems now that Makhachev will have to wait for Beneil Dariush, and now with rumors that Conor McGregor might have free reign to hop right back into a title fight at lightweight, Makhachev might have to wait even longer for his title fight. But Makhachev did have some words to say about that. "I think this is fake. For the fans, they make something interesting, but I think this is fake. It's gonna be hard for him to make 155 because he's drunk all day, and a lot of people are gonna smash him in this division. He's just gonna fight versus Nate Diaz or some old people to make some money, and that's it. He's never gonna be champion." What do you really think happened with Islam Makhachev and RDA? Is the truth somewhere in the middle? Dan Hooker recently weighed in on McGregor's return and pointed towards none other than Rafael dos Anjos as the key to a title shot. On a recent appearance on the All-Star, Hooker had this to say, "I think Conor gets a title shot off RDA. I feel like he beats RDA, he gets the title shot. I think, just because of the backstory that's there as well, like they were set to fight. RDA's like a former champ. They can show how it all played out from the last fight, like tied together. It's a big fight. That's a big fight. I feel like that fight is marketable for sure, like it's a fight that's supposed to happen, and kinda fell through." And Hooker is not the only one looking to set that fight up. Dos Anjos himself thinks that this fight needs to be revisited. On the MMA Hour, Helwani asked Dos Anjos, So if it was up to you, Conor, summertime, whenever he's ready, once and for all, you settled the score at 155, yes? To which Dos Anjos replied, yes, that would be the perfect scenario for me. It looks like Conor has his pick of the litter for a return fight, Masvidal, Diaz, and now RDA. Do you think Conor would even consider fighting Rafael dos Anjos at this point in his career? And last but not least, everyone's favorite shit talker Kevin Holland recently branded himself as a company man. The former middleweight made his debut at 170 at UFC 272 and scored a highlight TKO victory over veteran Cowboy Oliveira. After the fight, Holland was in great spirits after a successful move to welterweight and had this to say to BT Sport. I feel good here, I like it here, I can't tell you I'm gonna stay here, you know what I mean? Whatever the UFC tells me to do, that's what I'm gonna do. So if they say I gotta stay at 170 pounds, I gotta stay at 170 pounds. If they give me the opportunity to fight guys still at 85, I would gladly still fight guys at 85. If they told me I had to cut off a leg and go even lower, I would cut off a leg and go even lower. If they told me I had to grab extra cojones and go higher, I'd grab extra cojones and go higher. It's whatever they tell me to do. I like to believe I'm a company man. If Kevin Holland cuts off his leg to make 155, do you think the UFC will make a custom Venom peg leg for his fight night attire? That about does it for Sportskeeda MMA's most exciting news from the MMA world. Here is one final question for you fight fans. Do you think the UFC is trying to secretly set up a McGregor versus Makhachev matchup with all these talks of Conor's return? Don't forget to subscribe and follow Sportskeeda MMA on all our social media platforms. I'm Alex, and as always, thanks for tuning in.